Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Deck Tech. Sorry about the late upload, but had a little bit of a mishap last night with my computer, and I lost the recordings that I did. I was pretty upset. So anyways, I'm not going to get into detail about that. I'm here to talk about the deck I'm going to play this week, and that is Dimir Unearth. The deck originally started off obviously as an Unearth concept. It's morphed through several different builds. You know, it's probably on the fourth or fifth, maybe even the sixth build of this thing. But I think I have it where I like it now. I mean, I should probably call it like Dimir Tempo or Dimir Aggro or something at this point, because it's become based more on evasion and with Unearth as kind of like just some value. But you know, I'm gonna call it Dimir Unearth because that's what I've always called it. I've got 8 Unearth creatures, and also that box art. He looks like some kind of zombie coming back from the grave. So, you know, I kind of like it. It's blue and black in the artwork, so it makes me feel good. That's weird, but that's me. So anyways, looking at the curve down there, you can see that we haven't got a whole lot up high on the curve. A lot of 1 and 2s, you know, a couple 3s and a couple 4s. I'm playing 23 land in the deck, which seems like a lot, but Unearth is pretty hard on the mana. If I want to develop my board and have something to unearth at the same time, then I need a bit of mana. Plus, I do want to hit my drops and deploy multiple threats in a single turn. So I mean, I do think 23 is probably fine. I've flirted with the idea of dropping to 22. There's nothing I really want to add. Maybe a Shadowborn Demon, but you know, dropping to 22 lands to add a 5-drop isn't the most appealing idea in the world. But anyway, so I'll take you up and I'll show you the creatures. So starting with the 1-drop here, Cloudfin Raptor. This is a 0/1 flying evolve. So evolve means that whenever a creature with power or toughness greater than this creature's comes into play, he gets a +1/+1 counter on him. So that has real nice synergy with Unearth. So I'll just skip over to 4 mana here, and we'll look at Viscera Dragger. So Viscera Dragger is a 4 mana 3/3, pretty boring, you know, on the surface, except for the art, you know, with his Viscera dragging on the ground there. So it's pretty cool artwork. One of my favorite arts of the cards in D15. But what you know, what Unearth lets you do is you pay 2 mana at sorcery speed, and he comes out of your graveyard with haste, and then at the end of the turn he gets exiled. So this has great synergy with Evolve, because you get to bring it into play and evolve it, and then when you unearth it, it evolves it again. So the same thing happens with Brackwater Elemental. You know, you unearth that thing, and it evolves your Raptor. So there's a nice bit of synergy going on there, and I really like that. Well, I'll talk about Dragger later. I just wanted to show you Unearth and Evolve and how that works. So that's really good. Sometimes you'll top deck a Cloudfin Raptor like on turn 6 or 7, and you know, in most decks that'd be pretty bad. But you know, with this deck, if you drop it on the board and then unearth 2 guys, all of a sudden you got a 2/3 flyer. So you can get him up to as big as a 4/5 in this deck. I used to have bigger flyers at the top with Phantasmal Dragons and Indulgent Tormentors. I ended up cutting them for a lower curve, quicker. And you can still get him up to a 4/5. It's pretty difficult, but a 3/4 is pretty standard, though. For a turn 1 Raptor, anyway, you'll generally get him to a 3/4 if he's not, you know, immediately removed. So another 1-drop creature we have, which is pretty boring, don't really like it, but you know, for speed and curve, and because we're playing Military Intelligence, which I'll show you later, this guy's just a 1/1 unblockable for 1 mana. So now we've got 8 blue 1-drops to start the game, and get going. You know, Military Intelligence. I'll show you in a little while, but you get to draw cards if you're attacking. So yeah, those are my 1-drop guys. On 2 mana creatures, we have Tidehollow Strix. So I mean, this guy is 2 power with evasion for 2 mana. So it's really good to just go Raptor into Strix, and then you've got 3 power in the air, both flying, on the second turn. So I mean, that's a really strong start. And you know, I mean, if your opponent has a big nasty creature, you just keep your Strix at home because it has Death Touch, and you can, you know, ward off attacks that way. But you know, a 2-power flyer for 2 mana with no drawback is pretty good in an aggro deck like this. So we're going to play that. That's actually, this card is the reason I'm playing black in the deck. If it weren't for this card, this would be mono blue, or it might not even be a deck at all. But this guy here is really good. So since we're playing black, another thing we can do on 2 mana, even though this is a 4-mana card, is we can cycle the Viscera Dragger. So it's 2 colorless mana. Excuse me. And even if we don't draw Swamp, if we got this guy in our opening hand, we can cycle it, which means you discard it to draw a card, and you know, by virtue of discarding it, you turn on the unearth portion of the card. So a lot of times when you're on 4 mana, you won't even hardcast this guy. You'll just cycle it and unearth it and draw a card in the process and swing, because you know, this deck is all about the beatdown. So that's those are the 2 mana options as far as creatures go. Moving up to 3 mana, we've got 4 copies of Pestermite. So he's 2/1 flyer for 3 mana, obviously, but he has flying. So I mean, the name of this, the name of the game in this deck is evasion. You know, we get the Strix that flies, the Raptor that flies, the Raptor flies. I'm sorry, and the Shore Stalker's unblockable. Pestermite flies, but he has flash, so you can cast him anytime. You could cast an instant, and so you can flash him in, tap down a blocker, you know, untap a land for a Vapor Snag. You can do a whole bunch of different things with this guy. He's really disruptive. And then after you get the spell effect, which is, you know, the tapping or the untapping, you're left with a 2/1 flyer that helps your beatdown plan. So he's really strong here. I really like the card. Our other 3-drop is Brackwater Elemental. He's only 3 mana and he's a 4/4, so he's mighty huge. I don't really get what's going on in the artwork there. Not quite a fan of that. It just looks like a big blob of something. I don't know. I can't really make out what the hell it's supposed to be. But anyway, whenever it attacks or blocks, you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So you drop it into play. I mean, if your opponent attacks, you basically 99% of the time will never block with this in this deck. You just swing for 4, and then it goes away to your graveyard, but then you unearth it and get to swing for 4 again. 4 is a lot, especially for just 3 mana. Your opponent is usually hesitant to block it because that, you know, at that stage of the game, they're going to lose something, and they know your Brackwater Elemental is going away, so they tend to take the 4, which is, you know, which is exactly what this deck wants. It's almost like a burn spell, and it comes back out of the graveyard to trigger your Evolve and your Cloudfin Raptors. This guy is what gives the Cloudfin Raptor the 4/5 ceiling. So if it's a 3/4 and you unearth this guy, it goes up to a 4/5. And you know, 4/4 for 3 mana just can't be underestimated. He's really strong here. So that's the creature base. We got 24 of those. I'll take you through the spells. This is one of the key spells in the deck where it's an uncommon, so we can only play 3. But you know, whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw cards. So since we've got all the evasion, all the flyers, and the unblockables, and that sort of thing, and we don't care about Brackwater Elemental if he gets blocked. We've got the Unearth with haste, so it's really easy to trigger this thing, and the card advantage just spirals out of control. You know, if you have 2 evasive creatures attacking every turn, you get an extra card every turn. It's just absolutely bonkers once you get it going. You know, if your opponent can't stop you from attacking with 2 creatures, so we're going to play that. I'm going to leave those other spells for now. Another part of our card draw package, we're playing 2 copies of Bident of Thassa. So whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So again, with the flyers and unblockables, dropping a Bident usually means you're going to draw 2, 3, 4 cards on the turn that you play it, which is insane. We don't use the second ability a whole lot in this deck because we're tapping out to attack a lot. So you know, it's usually a race. But you know, if you have a Tidehollow Strix and your opponent has something big that you want to kill, you can force it to attack into your death touching flyer. Or if they have, you know, if they have a big flyer in the way. You know, I was playing against a guy the other day who had a really huge Seraph of the Masses as his, you know, as a big flying blocker, and I just forced it to attack. I took the 8 or 9 damage or whatever it was, and then, you know, that cleared out his only flying blocker, and I got to swing him for the win. So I mean, sometimes it gets a blocker out of the way. But you know, the main reason to run this card is the draw. You know, it is legendary. You can only ever have 1 in play, and we're playing 2 copies. I tend not to like that. But in this deck, you know, you're going to draw so many cards. Usually you end up discarding the hand size after you drop one of these things. If you draw the second copy, you can just ditch it. And you can also ditch these Unearth creatures, you know, because they have a lot of value in the graveyard. So I mean, landing a Bident with this deck is pretty much, you know, if you have 2 or 3 creatures out and a Bident comes into play, it's pretty tough to lose the game. So that's why we're playing 2 of those. And the only other spells we have besides all of that are the 4 Vapor Snags, which is just, you know, a bounce spell. It returns the creature to its owner's hand, and they lose 1 life, which is good. We're playing aggro, and the life loss really matters. But then we have another 4 copies of Voyage's End, which is, again, it's a bounce spell. It's a bit more expensive, but we get the scry in the card selection. So while I'm swinging with all my dudes, I just want to bounce their creatures and delay them. That's why I was saying earlier I probably should just call it Dimir Tempo or something, because I'm really just trying to, you know, delay my opponent while I swing in with flyers, unblockables, evasive creatures, you know, pop creatures out of the graveyard, and draw a ton of cards off Intelligence and Bident and the cycling on Viscera Dragger. So yeah, it's just put a whole bunch of evasive creatures into play, draw a lot of cards, and annoy your opponent with bounce spells. That is the deck. Like I said earlier, we're playing 23 land. I'm playing 4 gates, obviously, because you know, I like to have multiple sources of mana. You know, there's only 8 black cards in the whole deck. But if we get a Strix in our opening hand, we want to be able to cast it on turn 2, and it requires black. So that's I've chosen to play gates there, you know, to add some more black sources. I think, you know, I'm playing 12 islands because I got the 8 blue 1-drops, and 7 swamps. So hopefully, if I draw Strix, I can draw. You know, I got a reasonable chance of drawing a swamp. If not, I'll just play a gate and another 1-drop usually. But I need 11 black sources because I want to be able to cast Strix on turn 2. But the deck, it doesn't really use black mana a whole lot. Really, just for this guy and the occasional Unearth on Viscera Dragger. So yeah, that's the deck. I mean, it was pretty quick tech here, but hopefully the deck performs the week. I mean, I've played a lot of my strongest decks in the first I don't know how many weeks I've been live with these deck techs now, 7 or 6 or 8 or something like that. Most of my strongest decks, my stuff that I would consider to be pretty top tier or really powerful is I got a couple left, but they're similar to the ones that I've played in mid-rangey or control decks that I just want to give a nice bit of variety. This one I would say is is definitely not tier 1, but it's a lot of fun, and it is quite strong if you play it right. So yeah, tell me what you think, and hopefully we get some good games, and hope you enjoy the deck, and we'll see you for gameplay in a few minutes. Thanks for watching.